Hey guys, I'm Nate. I'm the owner and founder here at Alpine Leather and Supply Co., and I'm a North Georgia maker. As a kid growing up, my whole life was kind of centered around sports and athletics, and so I never was able to jump into the making or creative side of my brain and life until after I graduated high school. And that's where I kind of, during my first few semesters of college, I had went on a road trip to Nashville and saw a local maker there in the leather field doing his thing. And when I came back, it was something I was interested in, and that kind of sparked the whole genesis of my creativity in general in making. So I jumped into leather work. I learned it all online, and that really just started to sprout a lot of my creativity and where I went from there. So it went from a very focused athletic life right into kind of ditching all of that into making and creativity. Whereas now I make leather goods, I play guitar, and so I was able to really jump into a lot more of my creative side that's always been there, that I hadn't yet explored. So when I got home from Nashville, I was starting school at Kennesaw State University, and I had this idea to start this business with a leather company and start making leather goods. And I already had this sense in college that I was always a good student through high school and even into college, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so college was that natural next step that we have, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do there. And so I just found this thing that I thought I could turn into a business, this leather making, leather crafting. And my third semester at KSU, I came to a crossroads of just deciding that I was going to go and try to do this leather work and make it a full-time gig. So yeah, the process of quitting school and dropping out of college was a tough one, but I ultimately didn't want to spend more money pursuing something that I had really no clarity on where I was going with that route. And so yeah, I plunged into the leather work pretty quickly after realized to make it in life, I would need to supplement some of the income with other gigs. So I was working for King of Pops, Copper Point Coffee, and basically taking as much of that money I could and pouring it right back into Alpine and just helping me fund new tools, getting new materials while working and kind of skating by in life with the rest of the money. Kind of in the midst of those part-time jobs and being part-time in leather, this company called America Clothing, it's a local Georgia company, outdoor clothing, now rebranded Tripine Clothing. They kind of reached out on Instagram. They were my first big order ever. I had really only made keychains up to this point, a few other goods, and they reached out. My buddy David, now from there, is a good friend, reached out and just expressed interest in getting a large quantity of leather goods. And I was like, sure, I can do that. I had never really done a mass quantity at that point. My company wasn't set up tool-wise, manufacturing-wise to do that. But right away, I started to, make what they asked for. I think their first order was 200 bracelets with their logo on it. So I was hand tracing every 1/2 inch by 9 inch rectangle, punching the holes, cutting them out with scissors, which is not the right way. And yeah, shortly after that, they were just selling them so quickly that David reached out and was like, hey man, can we do anything to both get these faster and get them, just a little cleaner? And so I actually expressed interest in the machine I had been looking at that would help mass produce these a little quicker, and they tripled their order and said, hey, get that. We want to be a partner of yours for a long time, and 6 years later, they're still a great partner of mine, and have always been great to me. So that is where the focus of wholesale in my business kind of sparked from, kind of this random meeting online of a local company here in Georgia, other makers that had kind of the same goal and vision as me. And so we moved forward the next 6 years together, and that's what kind of built the rest of my clientele and my mindset focused on wholesale. Yeah, I love doing pop-ups because it gives me a chance to partner with other local companies here in Georgia that I wouldn't necessarily get an opportunity to, meet the owners and the employees that they work alongside. So yeah, that connection it gives me to the company. Typically they let me set up for free and they treat me really well, especially coffee shops and breweries. They hook you up, with beer and coffee, day of event, and you just get those connections that go beyond that. A lot of times that connection will turn from a pop-up into wholesale and just build a long-lasting partnership with those companies. It also just gives me a concentrated period of time on a random day to be out of my shop. That kind of gives you a pretty good spike in business, just because you're in a place that the customers that are coming to see, whether it is a coffee shop or a brewery, they're coming there for coffee or beer, and then you're kind of an unexpected addition, and so you're kind of an easy, okay, I'll buy a keychain or something small. So you see a pretty good spike in business there. And then at the end of the day, I just love the connection with customers that I don't get to see on a day-to-day basis at my shop. I love, even as the owner, to be the person that's getting to interact with people. Like, one of my biggest passions is the customer to owner connection, and so to get that in such a high dosage on a random day, I love to see that. Usually at a pop-up you'll see higher traffic than I see at my typical retail store, and so yeah, it just allows for more of those relationships to be built. I give out a lot of cards that will then connect people to my retail store later, and yeah, I think from there I've even seen customers turn into friends, and it's just easier to do in a pop-up setting where you're out of the shop and kind of in a more relaxed environment, typically over either a beer or coffee, where people really connect pretty easily. So yeah. I think one for me was scaling and growing a company that was focused mainly on wholesale, and so there was always another machine or big piece of equipment that I had my eyes set on that I could buy. And sometimes you could do that, and sometimes you couldn't, because you need to pay yourself too, and there's other things. But I think finding the balance of that and knowing when to invest in the company so you can do more wholesale at a quicker rate and get more of those jobs cranking through. And then just living a lifestyle that you wanted to live by paying yourself was a big challenge to overcome. And the way I did that a lot of times was just getting more jobs and kind of doing the best of both worlds and investing in the equipment, pitching bigger orders from companies that would be helpful for them, give them a lower price even than you were already offering at the wholesale. And so yeah, gaining capital that way. Yeah, my biggest passion in life is my relationship and walk with Jesus. I've been so fortunate my whole life to grow up in the church and grow up with a relationship with Jesus, and even though I've walked through some hard things in life, just being able to point to Him and give Him all glory and praise. But I would say if you have a dream, whether it's in the crafting and making sector or just in any other section of life, is do it. Just go ahead and jump into it, because you're always going to have people around you that are going to tell you the reasons why it's not feasible, the obstacles you're going to have to get over, and they're there. They're going to be there, but you can do it. And I experience the same thing from people that are close to me and that I love, who are now my biggest fans in what I do. So a lot of times it is the mindset that is what we've been told our entire lives is don't go for your dreams, go for what is going to give you comfort and safety and security. And I'm just a big believer that your dream can give you those things as well. And so feel supported now, just in that confidence that you can do it, and you can succeed in what you want to do, and you can love what you do, and you can work for yourself or with your friends or alongside a partner, and you can find a fulfilled life in that. And the people that have the concerns are oftentimes saying it out of love and protection for you, but they're ultimately not the truth, and they will block you from your dreams as long as you let them. And so I say just go for it. And most of the time, those people that are giving you the feedback to not do it are gonna be some of your biggest supporters along the way, once you step into it. So step into it and watch the way that people come around you and champion you. And I think you'll be pretty happy with the results.
In 2023, here at Reformation Brewery and Craft Spirits, we celebrate 10 years of being in business. A decade of making handcrafted beer and now spirits, proudly serving our North Georgia community. We could not think of a more fitting way to celebrate this momentous occasion and usher in our anniversary season this fall than to highlight the stories of our fellow North Georgia makers. From home brewers to hometown brewery, Reformation is and will always be proudly North Georgia made. So cheers to you, the artists, the makers, and the reformers in all of us.